This course is designed to help you master yourself and, in so doing, to master your destiny. By now, everyone should be on board with the fact that we move toward what we think about. That being the case, in this chapter, we're going to discuss the importance of focusing on the things that are important to your success. The sun's multi-billion watt power can be controlled by a little sunscreen and a hat, but a laser with only a few watts can drill through a diamond. It's all about focus. All success requires focus. Mastering your focus is about maximizing the value of each day by focusing on what is important. This chapter is about getting the sales skills needed to effectively align your goals with your daily activities. We're going to help you invest time today so you will be transforming your opportunities for tomorrow. We will do that by helping you use your time wisely to organize and execute around your top priorities. Lord Chesterfield stated, "If you watch the minutes carefully, the hours will take care of themselves." The 80-20 rule states that we tend to spend 80% of our time on projects that have a 20% return. You have to learn how to focus your efforts on the 20% of things that have the highest value to you. One of the first challenges in mastering your day is to get a handle on your priorities. Stephen Covey, author of the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, tells a great story about establishing our priorities. One day, an expert in time management was speaking to a group of business executives. As he stood in front of the group of high-powered overachievers, he said, "Okay, time for a quiz." He then pulled out a 1-gallon wide-mouthed mason jar, set it on the table. He produced about a dozen fist-sized rocks and carefully placed them one at a time into the jar. When the jar was filled to the top and no more rocks would fit inside, he asked, "Is the jar full?" Everyone in the class said, "Yes." Then he said, "Really?" He reached under the table and pulled out a bucket of gravel. Then he dumped some gravel in and shook the jar, causing it to work its way down in the spaces between the big rocks. Then he asked the group once more, "Is the jar full?" By this time, the class was on to him. "Probably not," one of them said. "Good," he replied. He reached under the table and brought out a bucket of sand and started dumping the sand into the jar until it filled the spaces left between the rocks and the gravel. Once more, he asked the question, "Is the jar full?" "No," the class shouted. Once again he said, "Good." Then he grabbed a pitcher of water and began to pour it in until the jar was filled to the brim. Then he looked at the class and asked, "What is the point of this illustration?" One executive raised his hand and said, "The point is, no matter how full your schedule is, if you really try hard, you can always fit some more things in it." "No," the speaker replied, "that's not the point." The truth this illustration teaches us is that if you don't put the big rocks in first, you'll never get them in at all. What are the big rocks in your life? Remember to put these big rocks in first, or you'll never get them in at all. If you sweat about the little stuff, then you'll fill your life with little things, and you'll never have the real quality time you need to spend on the big, important stuff. So ask yourself this question: what are the big rocks in my life? Then put those in your jar first. While these questions are about life in general, they apply equally well to your day-to-day sales activities. Any salesperson who is not a rookie knows the big rocks they need each day. While selling environments may vary by industry, they all include the same big rocks. Each day, you need to prospect, set appointments with prospects and customers, drive selling cycle and buying cycle events, and keep current customers happy. The challenge is doing them well and preventing anything from diverting your focus from the important tasks at hand. The object of your focus is productivity. Productivity is not the same as activity. Productivity is actions that produce results. Sales performance is the only result that matters. For instance, you may succeed in having lunch with that important new prospective customer, but did you design the time you had together to accomplish your mission? Did you move the relationship forward in some important way? Did your prospect engage with you in the kind of conversation that left both of you with a deeper relationship, greater understanding, and set mutually agreed upon next steps? To be a productive salesperson, you must learn to expand your strengths instead of developing your weaknesses. Determine what you're wired to do and what gives you joy and passion. It's important to know what you're not good at doing and what brings you anger and frustration. Most successful salespeople recognize that they are good at doing the important tasks of selling. They are good at prospecting. They are good with customers and with developing meaningful relationships that inspire trust and friendships. They are good at identifying and solving customer business problems and at being a conduit for the flow of products and services between their company and their customers. Unfortunately, too often they are also good at the wrong things, and being good at the wrong things can be a problem. If you're a great photocopier or fax operator, you may have a problem. If you're the most popular guy at the bar after work with your work buddies, you may have a problem. If everyone in your office knows everything there is to know about your kids' athletic or school activities, then you may have a problem. If your work computer has the 10 best sports websites and all your favorite entertainment sites bookmarked, you may have a problem. If all your family and friends think it's perfectly okay to call you during office hours just to chat, you may have a problem. If you work from home and nobody around you knows or respects your office hours, you may have a problem. Here's a simple suggestion for you. Look at what you do each day and see how many tasks you perform for which you're overqualified. Think about this for a second. If you fax, you're overqualified for that. If you photocopy, you're overqualified for that. If you drive to a restaurant and buy a sandwich, you're probably overqualified for that. I want you to realize that doing stuff you're overqualified for brings you down. It frustrates you. We need to get rid of that. You need to be in the zone. You need to do what you're wired to be good at, what you do well, what you're passionate about, and you need to do it for the biggest part of the day. When you make a decision to delegate these tasks to competent people, all of a sudden, you're going to have more freedom. And freedom is the reason why, ultimately, I think, you got into the selling business. Because you can chart your own course. Because you can make as much money as you want to make. It's time to get passionate about your ability to respond to the 100% question. A doctor friend of mine took his young son with him to visit his office. After his son had followed him around for a while, he asked his dad this question. "Dad, how come you don't take the x-rays?" His dad, a radiologist, said, "Because I get paid more to read them." It's a simple story to illustrate a profound truth for every salesperson. You must do what you get paid to do. Things that matter most should never be at the mercy of things that matter least. So perhaps you could solve some of these problems by learning to delegate every single thing that you don't want to do, shouldn't do, or need to learn not to do. Anything that reduces your focus on your daily mission is a barrier to your success. To master your day, you may need to overcome these barriers. These barriers are your time wasters. A day full of interruptions is a symptom of procrastination. Procrastination is opportunity's natural assassin and can turn your sales career blacker than Darth Vader's mascara. Remember that Chinese proverb, you can't chase two rabbits because both will escape. You've got to make a decision, and you've got to focus in. Here's a technique that works for a lot of people. Instead of focusing on what you have to get done, focus instead on where you want to start. Some of the most productive salespeople set up their day by listing the things they need to start instead of what they need to get done. They know that the most important step in accomplishing any task is to start it. Ask yourself the 100% question. What would your sales performance look like if you could spend 100% of your working day doing the things that you're really good at and that produce the greatest financial impact on your sales? Well, do you think that's possible for you? If not, why not? If you believe that it's possible, then let's focus on how we can make it happen. If your income and your potential don't match, you've got an income gap. Maybe it's a 50 grand a year to 100. Maybe it's 100 grand a year to 500. Or 500 grand a year to 1,000,000. Whatever that gap is, you've got to do two things. Focus in on spending more time doing the things that produce the greatest results from the time you invest. And through efficiency and delegation. Get rid of everything else. Now, I'm not naive enough to believe, since I work with thousands of you from different industries and work cultures and leadership environments and all that, to think you could just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm only doing this. Think of closing your income gap as a process. I'm suggesting you make it your goal to be able to say, I would really like to answer that question and stitch together a long string of perfect sales days. Since 1928, sales management has been tracking how salespeople use their time, and nothing has changed since 1928. Only about 20% of the day is spent in active selling. The rest of the day is being spent in active stuff, most of which is not producing revenue. These time studies have revealed something else that is very important. Those salespeople who are ultra-productive, who gets more done, is a salesperson who does not do more but does less. Instead of just active and energetic, they focus on the things that they're good at and the things that bring ultimate value economically to their clients and to themselves. They invest time in tasks with high ROI, and they wind up with very, very productive days and weeks and months, and ultimately a very productive career. Okay, now it's time for today's exercise. This should not take you long, and you'll probably find it easy to do. I want you to write in your journal 2 lists. The first list should be your things to do before it's too late to do them list. You know this concept if you saw the Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman movie, The Bucket List. That movie's all about the wake-up call. It's about 2 guys that both come down with cancer. One of them is poor, but in a great marriage, and the other guy is rich and tough. And yet both of them are struck with this. Okay, my time is now limited. And I want you to start to build your own personal bucket list. It's a powerful influence on how you will live your life today, tomorrow, and in the weeks, months, and years to come. Next, I want you to list everything that is getting in the way of you spending more time on what really matters, and what matters in business, and what matters outside of business. So, by way of review, keep in mind that focus is the power to act. Focus is about taking your dreams and goals and distilling them down into small increments of time. Take every sales goal and break it down into how much per month, week, and day you have to produce to achieve your goal. Then focus on what you have to do before you go to work, what you have to do before lunch in order to meet your goals. Don't kid yourself. Reaching your goals is going to take 10 times more action than you expect. Focus on the behaviors you need to demonstrate every day. Eliminate time thieves out of your day. Write your goals and priorities down and look at them every day. Then build and execute your daily schedule to lock in the behaviors you need.